we're going to take the next 30 minutes, and I pray that you have a notepad handy, because we're going to talk about 3 quick and easy steps towards acquiring high limit credit lines. And what we're going to talk about cleaning your credit report, improving your credit profile, and building your credit strength. And in these 3 quick and easy steps, I hope to impress upon you the benefit of improving your credit and having yourself deemed as credit worthy, so that you're able to move further in the things that you want to do. Credit is in fact a resourceful tool, and my whole purpose in sharing with you today is to help you to save time, energy, and money so that you can move forward with the things that you choose to do in life. Now, first, I want to encourage you to clean your credit report. So we need to order your credit reports. There are 3 major bureaus: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You're entitled to a free credit report from each of these 3 bureaus every year. So I want you to go to annualcreditreport.com and order your free credit report from all 3 bureaus. You can go online and order these 3 reports, download them in the privacy of your home, or you can have them mail them to you through the U.S. mail and at no cost to you. So we want to get those things first. What we want to do here is help you to determine where you are. It's similar to being in the mall where you're looking for a particular store but may not know where it's located. So you go to the directory, and there you'll see a red X that says you are here. And you'll locate the store that you're trying to find, and you'll determine the best route through the mall to get from where you are to the store that you want to visit. It's the same. When we order the credit reports, that shows us where we are. We know where we want to be. We want to be at 750 and higher. But we need to know where we are, because if we don't know where we are, just simply knowing where we want to be doesn't help us very much. We don't know how long it's going to take, what particular steps we need to make. So we want to order our credit report. It's free. Get your credit report. Now, once you have your credit report, we're going to go through the credit report, and we're going to correct any erroneous, inaccurate, or unverifiable information. So the first place we want to start is your personal information section. This section is going to have your name, address, and employer listed. We want to make sure that there's only one name listed, and the same one name across all 3 bureaus. We want to make sure that there's only one address listed, and this same one address across all 3 bureaus. We want to make sure that there's only one employer listed, and we want to make sure that it's the same across all 3 bureaus. Our desire here is to make the impression on banks, any banker or lender who's looking at our credit report, to know that we are stable, that we don't have a bunch of information, confusing information on our credit reports, that they can look and see that we have one name, not a bunch of aliases, one address, not a bunch of different places where we've, moved around here, there, and a bunch of different employers. We want them to have precise and concise information so that they can make their decision without a lot of confusing information being listed. So you want to make sure that you have one name listed, one address, and this address can either be your current address or the address that you're using to fill out your credit applications, So you want to make sure that it's only one address though, and that it's the same across all 3 boards. Now, I've included a letter that you can use to write to the bureaus to let them know the particular name that you want listed, your name of course, the particular address that you want listed, and the particular employer that you want listed, so that you'll have a paper trail. Now, with personal information, you could call on the phone because they want to have your most recent updated information. So they're usually or generally willing to update this information over the phone, but I recommend using a letter so that we'll always have a paper trail of anything that we've communicated to the credit bureaus. So if there are any issues, we can always come back and show that we in fact sent a letter to the credit bureaus that was properly addressed. So with that being said, we want to move on to your account information. We want to work to remove and or reduce any derogatory information that may be listed in your credit report. Now, derogatory information, negative accounts will include things such as bankruptcy, collections, late or missed payments, child support information, judgments, tax liens, things of this nature. Anything that would be viewed as negative or derogatory as concerning you as a credit risk, we want to have it reduced or removed, preferably removed. And I've included another letter in this tutorial which you can use to dispute any negative, inaccurate, or unverifiable information that may be listed on your credit report. So the letter is there for you to use and modify accordingly. Now, there are three major bureaus that we know of: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. But there are at least 100 other bureaus that you may not be aware of, and they are what I call secondary bureaus. And they are, and this is just to name a few, there are, like I say, 100 of them, but LexisNexis, SageStream, Innovus, ARS, CoreLogic, just to name a few. But these secondary bureaus house a lot of information that the primary bureaus use to put on your credit report. And they'll have information concerning judgments, old addresses, name variations. They'll have information concerning the employers that you may have had in the past, collections accounts, medical bills, anything that you can think of that may be on record as concerning an individual. It's housed in a file somewhere, and the credit bureaus are able to use this information to report or verify information on your credit report. What we want to do, what I suggest, because this information is not reported according to the law, and by that I mean to say the law doesn't say to the credit bureaus that any information must be reported in the credit report. You as a private citizen have the right to freeze or opt out of your information being shared by these secondary bureaus. You're also able, of course, to freeze your the three major bureaus, but we're not going to freeze them just yet. We want them to be available to share information with the lenders, but what we want to do is freeze these secondary bureaus so that when we go to dispute information on our credit report, that information will be unverifiable by the big three bureaus, the primary bureaus. Now, as I stated earlier, there is no law that says any information must be reported on your credit. And your information is private. You're a private citizen. You're not a politician or some celebrity where your information is out there for public consumption per se. So you're able to opt out and let them know, I don't want my information to be shared. I don't want my information to be, revealed to anyone who's looking for it. So you want to freeze those files, opt out of them sharing your personal information. Once that's done, now we want to configure the letter to let the bureaus, the top three, the big three bureaus, know that there's inaccurate information on your credit report and there's unverifiable information on your credit report. Now, the letter that I've included, you'll be able to, and I recommend disputing no more than 10 negative accounts at a time, just to allow the credit bureaus to do their research and get back with you in a relatively quick fashion. So if you happen to have 30 negative items on your credit report, of course you can list all 30 at one time and send that derogatory or dispute letter in. But I recommend doing 10 at a time just to allow them to get it done quickly and get word back to you. Once you file a dispute, the credit bureau actually has 30 to 45 days to make a response to you, to get their investigation done and get a response back to you, either that it's been verified, that it is in fact accurate and they won't remove it, or they weren't able to verify it, that they found that it was in fact inaccurate and they do remove it. So once we send that letter, we need to understand that it may be 30 to 45 days before we receive a response. Of course, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. So I want to encourage you to be patient and to know that if you work the process, then the process will work for you. So once we have the information that we want to dispute in the letter in the mail, we want to sit back and wait for a response. That's the derogatory information. And because we've frozen or opted out of information being shared, even if information that's reported on your credit report is in fact true, because they're not able to verify it, see, it has to be accurate and verifiable. Because they're no longer able to verify it, or if they're no longer able to verify it, and that's why we've frozen these secondary bureaus, then they'll have to remove it regardless of the fact that it is in fact true. So that is the game plan or the tactic on freezing those secondary bureaus. In addition to the derogatory information, we also want to dispute any interrogatories that we have on our credit report. Now, you only want to dispute those interrogatories that are not hooked up to open and active accounts. If you have a credit card that you're using that you want to keep open, and I recommend that you keep them open, if there are any inquiries that are linked to those accounts, you don't want to dispute those, because the credit card companies will see that you're disputing it because of fraud or some sort of mistake that was made, and they'll close those accounts down. So we absolutely do not want to dispute the inquiries of open credit cards that we want to keep. We just want to dispute the inquiries on accounts that we were turned down. We want to get rid of those inquiries. Now, I'm talking about hard inquiries, not the soft. The soft inquiries don't harm our credit. Anytime you check your credit report, it's a soft inquiry. Anytime an employer checks it to make sure that you have, good credit for, say, you're trying to get some sort of job or some sort of clearance on your job, that's a soft inquiry. It's only when it's in the hopes of having credit extended towards you that it'll be deemed as a hard inquiry, and it'll go on our credit report. Now, a hard inquiry is negative in that it will lower our credit score by 1 to 5 points for every hard inquiry that we receive. The hard inquiry will remain on our credit report for 2 years, and then it'll fall off naturally. Also, with a hard inquiry, banks see them, especially if they're a lot within a short period of time, as though you're desperate for credit, that there's some reason that you're seeking out credit, and it makes you look like a bad risk. So you definitely don't want to have a bunch of hard inquiries on your credit report. We want to have those things removed. The same letter that we use to dispute the derogatory information, the negative accounts, we're able to use to dispute the hard inquiries. So again, I recommend that you dispute right at about 10 at a time per letter. And of course, you can dispute, as many as you want, 30 if you wanted to, but it's just my personal recommendation that you try to stick to around 10 or fewer disputes for every letter that you send in.